Buongiorno a tutti, qui il vostro Anthony che vi parla e oggi continueremo la live di CSI. Dunque noi eravamo arrivati a questo punto, adesso dobbiamo andare da Brass a farci dare l'autorizzazione per convocare, come cavolo si chiama? Aspetta, per convocare Jane. Naturalmente il corpo ancora non è, l'autopsia ancora non è stata completata. Ok, andiamo da Brass per Jane Barrett.
Based on what evidence?
In base a quelle prove.
Prints on the bottle of morphine belong to Ms. Barrett? Well, until Doc Robbins gives us the results of the autopsy, we can't even think about a warrant. But maybe Ms. Barrett will come in here voluntarily to answer some more questions. No harm in asking her.
Ok. Non possiamo fare niente per via legale, però possiamo chiedere gentilmente se si vuole presentare, giusto per fare qualche domanda.
Thank you for coming in voluntarily, Miss Barrett.
Of course, officers. I'm happy to help with your investigation.
Allora, chiediamo un po'.
To be honest with you, I'm uncomfortable with her appearance. She's trashy. She wears that nurse's uniform more like a stripper than a caregiver. However, John seems to think she does a good job, and Mary approved of her.
Qualche minuto
Now
prima.
the family's resources are available to me. I have tried very hard to remain self-reliant. Truthfully, my only indulgence is using the family plane to fly back and forth for my Sunday visits. This is my first time flying commercially. It was more frustrating than I'd expected. It took about 4 hours in actual travel time to get to Vegas. I mean, I could have just as easily driven here. But you don't really need to hear about any of this, right? Sorry.
Ha maneggiato lei la Flebo?
No, of course not. Mary had already passed by the time I got here.
No, bella mia, non mi devi prendere per il sedere. Stai mentendo. C'è la tua impronta.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant today. I did change her morphine when it ran out during my visit last week.
Ah, ok,
Euthanasia? Well, it's one of those... In theory, it sounds like something which could be a good thing, but in practice, what scares me is the opportunity for abuse. Kids offing their grandparents in order to inherit the money to buy a new cell phone? No, I'm opposed to it.
Allora, no ragazzi, non abbiamo... Però, vediamo un attimo.
Miss Barrett,
Ecco.
are you aware that your fingerprints are on record because you were arrested 6 months ago at a Death with Dignity demonstration in Carson City?
I wish I could chalk that up to youthful indiscretion, but obviously I was old enough to know better. Suffice it to say, my politics 6 months ago had more to do with my personal relationships than my personal beliefs. I don't mean to suggest that there's anything wrong with the Death with Dignity people. It's just that I wasn't really with them, if you know what I mean. And honestly, having lived with Mary like this for all this time, I can't say I could make a decision like that. Especially because, even though she can't speak, I know Mary wants to live. I know that very much in my heart.
Miss Barrett, can you tell us your whereabouts for the last 24 hours?
I live in Los Angeles. I come up here to visit with Mary once a week. I flew up here this morning. By that look on your face, I'd imagine you'd also like to know if anyone can verify what I'm saying, but I don't think anyone I know saw me. Oh, wait! Hold on. Actually, I have this excellent home security setup. Superior security systems. You see the way it works? You're either in the away setting with the motion detectors on, or the home setting with them off. They gave me an application for my cell phone that tracks when I'm home and when I'm away. I can send what it recorded for the last 24 hours to you, and you'll be able to see I was home, right up until I left for my flight this morning.
Okay. Send us those records, Miss Barrett. but we'll still have to authenticate them with your security company.
Ok
So I
ragazzi,
just got the records for Jane Barrett's security system from Superior Security. Looks like they check out. According to the records, Miss Barrett was at home last night at 11. You know, the Mars family is still a pretty powerful player in this state. It's pretty much an open secret that John Barrett was set to inherit everything when Mary Mars died. Jane Barrett wasn't even going to get a little something for the effort.
Well, being left out of the will is a possible motive, but what do we think about Jane helping Mary end her own life, trying to give her death with dignity?
You know what death with dignity is? It means you don't drool. I think when you have a family with a lot of money to fight over, I don't trust any of them. But if Doc Robbins tells us the time of death cleared Jane Barrett, then I'll move on to the next best suspect, family member or not. Vault Insurance Company was only too happy to provide us with their claim file on Mary Marst's accident.
Hey, Robbins here. Sorry if I slowed you down any, but I was finally able to determine your victim's time of death. You're looking at somewhere around 11 p.m. last night. Why don't you meet me in the morgue when you're ready? We can go over the rest of the autopsy results.
allora ragazzi, alla seconda domanda che abbiamo detto stai mentendo è perché abbiamo fatto vedere le impronte digitali perché la signora Jane naturalmente ha avuto dei precedenti penali. Allora, foto dei segni sui tubi dei freni scattati in seguito all'incidente, vediamo. Sembra normale. E questo cos'è? Adesso le registrazioni deve essere segni, no scusate, registrazione del sistema di sicurezza che conferma l'alibi di Jane, quindi non può essere stata lei. Allora andiamo da Doc all'obitorio, così ci spiega tutto. Allora,
Thanks for waiting. Ms. Marst's previous injuries, which resulted in extensive hypertrophic scarring, made my job a lot more challenging than I'd expected. I'm sorry if I've slowed you down any.
allora, prendiamo le impronte digitali.
I collected them for you, as usual.
Ok, abbiamo le impronte digitali della vittima. Parlava Mary?
No, it would have been impossible. Her medical records indicate Ms. Marst sustained multiple near-fatal injuries in a car crash. Apparently, she actually inhaled burning fuel, which obviously severely and permanently damaged her vocal cords.
Ok, la causa del decesso?
Just because something walks like a duck and quacks like a duck doesn't mean we shouldn't assume it's a duck. The massive amounts of morphine found in the victim's system would lead one to expect death by overdose-related causes, and I did determine Ms. Marst's cause of death to be asphyxia due to morphine intoxication. Because the extensive scar tissue in Ms. Marst's lungs was hypertrophic, it took a little while for me to distinguish the morphine as the root cause of the asphyxia, as opposed to a more general catastrophic failure of the respiratory system due to her persistent condition.
Is it just me, Doc, or did this autopsy take a little longer than usual?
Well, Nick, it's just been a while since I examined a body with such severely burned tissues that hadn't been a contributing factor to COD.
L'ora del decesso?
I estimate time of death to be somewhere around 11 p.m. last night. The problem I had with this one is, if you take a good look at the muscular atrophy, it presents like advanced rigor. These pressure ulcers and skin abrasions also led to some initial confusion over the degree of livor mortis. And finally, once I got Ms. Marst's medical records and saw she'd stopped eating solid food about 3 months ago, I knew I couldn't use any partially digested food to help set her time of death.
Man, you weren't kidding when you said this one was challenging.
Yeah, but that's what keeps the spark alive in this job.
La morte è stata una scelta volontaria?
It's a good question, and I have no answer for you. Now, in a situation like this, where such a high dose of morphine is involved, I look for signs of cadaveric spasm, because when voluntary muscles have been deprived of oxygen due to, say, strenuous activity, these muscles tend to seize up perimortem, and indications of cadaveric spasming, let's say in the hands or arms, would tend to suggest the victim was in the midst of a struggle around the time of death, and I looked for such indications. When I got the full tox report back, it seemed to me that the level of morphine in her system was so toxic, it probably caused her to slip very quickly into an unconscious state just prior to the total collapse of lungs. So, absent any indication of cadaveric spasm, I concluded your victim's voluntary muscles were not engaged in any such strenuous activity perimortem. The more important point here is that whether this was a deliberate act of murder or an assisted suicide, Mary Marst's death was the result of a homicide.
Grazie per l'aiuto, Doc.
Anything I can do, feel free to take a closer look at the body yourself. Oh, almost forgot. There's a shard of some kind embedded in the back of her left hand. I left it for you to collect.
Allora,
Scar tissue here is extensive, as well as hypertrophic.
eccolo qua, qui cosa c'è?
That's the shard I told you about.
Perfetto, abbiamo questo frammento qui, che non so che roba sia. Va bene, allora, qui abbiamo più o meno fatto tutto.
Hello. Please feel free to take a closer look for yourself. I consider it peer review.
Ok, niente, non abbiamo nient'altro. Allora, abbiamo questo pezzo di unghia che non si capisce che roba sia. Andiamo ad analizzarla in laboratorio, vediamo che roba è. Dobbiamo andare nella chimica. Eccola qua. Allora, madonna, quanta roba c'è. Ok. Sì. Ecco qua, confermiamo.
Looks like an acetone and some hydrogen cyanide combined into fibers of an ethyl methacrylate monomer and bonded with a similar but complex polymer of transparent thermoplastic. It's a tiny piece of a cosmetic fingernail. I wonder, when was the last time Nurse Lou had her nails done?
Ok, mandato disponibile da Brass. Quindi abbiamo trovato un pezzo di unghia dell'infermiera, però volevo vedere una cosa, voglio andare un attimo allo chalet perché mancano ancora delle prove da prendere. Magari sul letto dove c'era la vittima c'è qualcos'altro da prendere. A parte che qui c'è no, qui non
Nurse Lou, we have something else we'd like to ask you.
Yes?
ah, ok, niente. Allora, non possiamo fare altro, quindi andiamo da Brass e ci facciamo dare il mandato per l'infermiera.
What evidence do you have?
Abbiamo, quelle prove abbiamo? L'unghia.
What if we do this? I'll talk to the nurse. See if she might be willing to come down here voluntarily to answer some questions. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Ok.
Nurse Lou, we appreciate you coming down here voluntarily to answer some questions.
You're welcome. I don't think there's any more I can tell you, but I'd like to help you if I can.
Allora, cosa pensa di Jane?
Honestly, I can't say I really know Miss Barrett. When she came to visit, she would seem uncomfortable. But seeing someone you love in the condition Miss Marsh was in, well, it's very, very difficult. So I tried not to take anything personally.
Dove possiamo trovare John Barrett, che è lui l'erede, dopo che è morta la sorella?
I don't know for sure. I do know there's an area down by Lake Merritt where the family keeps their boat, and Mr. Barrett, he likes to go down there when he wants to be by himself. Given what's happened, I wouldn't be surprised if he's there now.
Ok. Come fa a sapere della barca e del lago?
Mr. Barrett would tell Mary about the boat and the lake and how it was the only real place in the world he could find any peace. He and Mary spent a lot of time together. He would sit there beside her and carry on a conversation as if she were talking right back to him. I wasn't eavesdropping, I just couldn't help but overhear their talks. Or his talking, that is.
Quali sono i suoi Allora, vediamo. Quelle sono le sue vere unghie?
These? Yes, they are.
Ok.
That's odd. Oh, but you know, I did get a nail tip put on my index finger when the real one broke last week. It's been on my hand all week, so I guess I kind of forgot about it. But you can see it's not chipped or anything.
Ok. Quali sono i suoi rapporti con John?
Mr. Barrett is my employer. He pays me to provide home care for his sister.
Ok.
Thank you, nurse. We may call you in if more questions come up.
I understand.
Allora ragazzi, abbiamo un altro luogo. Abbiamo da andare a vedere il molo sulla sponda del lago. Chalet della famiglia Mast. E vediamo se becchiamo John. Mi sembra, adesso non ricordo come si chiama. L'ha appena detto ma non mi ricordo.
That must be our man. Right where Mary's nurse said he'd be.
Ah, ci sono delle impronte che mi pare di conoscere. Allora, vediamo qua cosa c'è. Non c'è niente. Cos'è sta roba? Prendiamone un campione.
Well, no one will ever accuse you of not being thorough. I'd say you might be overdoing it a little bit, but it never hurts to practice, right?
Ok. Affambare, sbagliato. No, non c'è niente. Ok, andiamo a parlare con quel signore lì, va? Però non mi fai prendere le impronte, figlio di buona donna. Eccole qua. Facciamo una bella foto. No, facciamo il calco, è meglio, va?
Good idea. We can use the microscope to compare the mold against any prints we find. Yeah, that's a nice boat. But it's not why we're here. Let's stay focused.
Ma io volevo solo vederla, Sta calmo, non è che volevo... Concentrati, sto solo vedendo un attimo la barca, non si può manco vedere una barca adesso. Tanto questo non va via, a lanciare i sassi.
John Barrett, move the Las Vegas crime lab.
Okay. Do you think I'm going to need my lawyer?
We're looking into the death of Mary Marston, and we'd like to ask you some questions.
I didn't do it. What else do you need to know?
Allora.
Sister. Mary was my sister. Even though our mothers were different, that didn't matter. And Mary was the only real member of my family I had left. She's gone. What the hell are you trying to insinuate? Mary was a fighter. Most people just lose their will to live. Not Mary. She was an inspiration. You know what? That's really none of your business. My opinion? I think you're wasting your time. And mine. My sister's gone, and your investigation isn't going to change that. I'm going to let you in on a little family secret. We have a real problem with authority, unless we're invested in it. So any more questions you have, save them for each one of my lawyers. Yeah, give me a call. We'll grab a drink or something.
Va bene, questo non è per nulla, come posso dire, adesso non mi viene in mente il termine, comunque. Appena che mi verrà ve lo dico. Ma qui non c'è niente. Vabbè, comunque volevo dire, questo non ci aiuta per niente, è proprio arrogante in tutto e per tutto. Va bene, allora noi abbiamo adesso le impronte. Andiamo a vederli. Ok, prima vediamo la macchia lì. Che roba è? Ok.
Petroleum oil with a very low ash content. Looks like the type of two-stroke oil you'd use in jet skis. Good job, partner. You proved that pool of motor oil is absolutely pool of motor oil.
Ora vediamo l'impronta della scarpa. Ah no, ho sbagliato, non è questa. Allora, questa è l'impronta di scarpa nel lago con vicino al busto di bronzo.
Size and the tread patterns.
Ecco qua.
Our suspect was wearing these shoes. We need to talk brass.
Abbiamo un mandato disponibile, poi confrontiamola anche con vicino al corpo di Mary.
Size and the tread
Ecco
patterns.
qua.
Our suspect was wearing these shoes. We need to talk brass.
Allora, abbiamo analizzato anche queste nuove prove. Però devo vedere una cosa. Vediamo se si può. Non mi rompere l'anima. No, non è questo. Ok. No, volevo provare a vedere meglio le registrazioni, però. Allora, già che ci siamo, voglio controllare anche il pezzo di unghia finta. Vediamo un attimo qua se ci dà qualche cosa. Ecco qua, mi è venuto il termine, il nostro caro amico John non è per nulla collaborativo. Quindi, ecco il termine che non mi veniva in mente prima. Ok, ricordiamoci anche di questi segni. Non abbiamo altro con cui confrontare, va bene. Allora adesso andiamo da Brass e ci facciamo dare il mandato per il nostro amico John.
What do you got in the way of evidence?
Le impronte.
This is good. We can get a warrant to search the kid's room with this. The problem we have now is it's Sunday, which means the judge is indisposed and runs several possible golf courses. I'll have to chase him down to get the warrant to search John Barrett's room. Why don't you head back to the lab? I'll call you when I have it.
Va bene. Dobbiamo tornare al laboratorio perché oggi domenica il giudice è al campo da golf, sapete, no? Non si possono disturbare i magistrati mentre giocano a golf. Non è solo in Italia, anche in America, a quanto pare, la domenica i giudici non devono essere disturbati. Torniamo al laboratorio.
Recognize him? This is a statue of St. Ambrose, patron saint of beekeepers. The statue belongs to Beatrice Salazar. At least it belonged to her back in 1982. That dried blood there belonged to her husband, Miami drug lord Humberto Salazar. The theory goes Humberto Salazar fell in love with a beautiful teenage prostitute he plucked off the streets of Mexico City. She got the house, the car, and the drug empire. He got St. Ambrose to the head. At the time, nobody could find any physical evidence to tie Salazar to her husband's murder, but obviously, we've come a long way since 1982. And that's where you guys come in. Salazar's grandstanding when she showed up the other day was just for show. Her DNA has been on file for a while.
What are these white, pasty flecks?
Adhesive from an evidence locker sticker. I just need you guys to pull her DNA off this statue. And if you can, that's the ballgame. We've got her for murder.
Va bene, allora dobbiamo fare intanto un favore a questo agente dell'FBI. Oh, me l'avevi dato poco fa, che cacchio, oh. Eccolo qui.
Nothing to collect here.
Come non c'è niente da raccogliere? Ma che cazzo stai? Prendi per il culo? Ok.
Nice job. Now let's run the sample.
Non c'è altro da cattare? No. Ah, vediamo se possiamo parlare anche con questo qua intanto. No, non possiamo parlare. DNA di Beatrice Salazar con quello che abbiamo recuperato dallo statuetta. Vediamo se riusciamo a inchiodarla. Questo va qua, sì. Poi ci sono ok, così. Allora, no, c'è qualcosa, dobbiamo metterli. Abbiamo sbagliato qualcosa forse, ragazzi, perché due rossi. Allora, vediamo dalle tutto. Allora, questo qua va per forza qui, perché ci sono due rossi di seguito. Poi questo va per forza qua. Infatti, vedete, adesso è giusto, dovrebbe essere. No, così no, non va bene. Questo ok, ci siamo. Conferma.
Wait, what's going on?
I'm not sure. Somehow, proteins got denatured, cooked.
They're useless. Son of a bitch. What the hell happened?
It doesn't make any sense. The concentration of sodium lauryl sulfate is way too high. But I was standing right there beside you. I saw you prepare the sample correctly.
Damn it, I can't believe this. I'm taking this statue back into my custody, and I'm going to make a formal request to the deputy director and to your sheriff that an investigation be immediately conducted into the CSI's possible malfeasance. Mr. Stokes, I would suggest you take this matter into your own hands before it brings down this entire lab.
Now, questo è
Tell me something. Are you just incompetent, or did you just deliberately destroy potential evidence?
Ma sei fuori di testa? Io ho fatto regolarmente alla lettera il lavoro,
Sounds crazy, but I think Agent Huntley set us up. I think he deliberately set us up so that we would consume that potential DNA sample in analysis. And he wanted us to take the fall for it. Catherine, we got to get our hands back on that statue. We need to analyze whatever traces on it. We have to figure out what the hell's going on with Huntley.
Lumpy just left the building, and he took the statue with him. I'll notify the FBI field office. See if they can help us. I think Nick is right, and I'll do everything in my power to get that statue back here and have you retested. But until we can get this thing totally resolved, I think it's best for the credibility of the lab if I keep you off any cases pertaining to Beatrice Salazar. I understand you have another case you're handling right now. I recommend the two of you keep working on it.
Allora, in poche parole, sto deficiente di agente dell'FBI mi dice di recuperare un campione e poi mi dice che l'ho fatto male e che ho distrutto una prova. Ma è fuori di testa, non è colpa mia.
So, walk me through this again.
Okay. We used a moderate concentration of sodium lauryl sulfate to lyse the cell wall.
Okay. Cell walls open up, allowing us to extract the genetic material inside and prepare it for DNA analysis.
Exactly. Except this time, for some reason, there was a much higher concentration of SLS than we normally use. So when the sample was hydrated in preparation for our DNA analysis, the water and the high concentration of SLS produced a chemical reaction that gave off enough heat to raise the temperature of the water way above 80 degrees Celsius.
Which would have denatured the protein and destroyed the viability of the sample.
Ma io non ho fatto nulla di sbagliato.
Agent Huntley is claiming you incorrectly prepared the lysine solution by adding too much SLS.
Catherine, with all due respect to Agent Huntley, I was standing right there when it all went down. The solution was prepared correctly. Now, as we were swabbing the sample, I did notice a trace amount of some sort of pasty substance on the back of the statue. So I asked Agent Huntley about it, and he said it was just some glue residue from an identification tag.
You know, you can create a paste with sodium lauryl sulfate, concentrated enough to have that reaction when hydrated.
È tutto per ora.
It's Brad. I finally tracked down the judge and got him to review and sign our search warrant for John Barrett's bedroom. Good to go.
Bene ragazzi, il giudice ci ha dato l'ok per andare a perquisire la stanza di John. Però io prima voglio capire perché qui nello chalet della famiglia ci dovrebbe essere un'altra prova, perché non mi dice il luogo perquisito. E non riesco a trovarla sta cacchio di prova ancora. Diamo un'occhiata veloce. se no altrimenti dobbiamo
Looks like
concentrarci.
John's come out of hiding.
Go to hell. I really have nothing to say to you.
Mr. Barrett, you do realize someone killed your stepsister, don't you?
If you think I did it, then why don't you just arrest me? What about her?
How would you feel if we told you we suspect Pauline may have been involved with Mary's death?
Nothing. I feel nothing. Go to hell.
Ok?
You don't know a damn thing.
No, non è per niente
Leave me alone.
collaborativo. Ma te ne vai a fanculo. Vabbè, insomma.
We should just leave me the hell alone.
Ho sbagliato un attimo, non rompere le palle. Niente, qui non ci sono altre prove. Eppure è strano, sono sicuro che ci dovrebbe essere qualcos'altro. Qui l'abbiamo già controllato. Niente, magari forse più avanti ci sarà qualcos'altro da prendere, penso. Andiamo nella stanza di John.
Brass had a hell of a time getting this search warrant. Let's not waste it. Stay sharp.
Ok, allora questa è la camera da letto di John. Vediamo. Apriamo qua, va?
The man likes his shoes. One on the shoes looks like it hasn't dried. It's fresh.
Ok. C'è del fango sotto le scarpe. E già che ci siamo, ne prendiamo un campione. Però la suola mi pare... Ah no, anche qui... Ah no, è leggermente diversa la suola. Vabbè, lo prenderemo dopo, allora, ho già capito. Adesso non voglio sclerare qui a cercare. Allora. Un bel paio di mutandine ci sono. Da donna.
Good job, right?
C'è pure una manetta. Che è qua? Cosa faceva sto qui? Allora. Vediamo se c'è qualche... C'è qualcosa.
No fluids here. No fluids here. No fluids here. No fluids here. Pretty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Non so che cosa ha raccolto.
Recover some usable DNA.
C'è dell'altro ancora?
We're lucky. We'll find out if she had a partner.
Cos'è che ho raccolto? Campione di materiale genetico femminile e campione di sperma. Bah, vabbè.
This guy may be rich, but lucky for us, he obviously doesn't pay for a daily maid service.
Ok. Il cestino, vediamo. Cosa c'è qua?
What we have here?
Un'unghia decorativa.
Which looks as though it's fallen off, and taken a bit of the real nail with it.
Ok, c'è anche dell'unghia vera, un pezzo di unghia vera. No, ho sbagliato.
That sample may allow us to positively identify who the nail belongs to.
Ok. Allora ragazzi, il luogo qui è stato perquisito. Qui non c'è più niente da prendere. Perché vedete, ci dà la V. Allora, noi adesso andiamo in laboratorio ed esaminiamo tutte le prove. Allora, dunque, microscopio. Ecco qua.
Matching an unknown to an unknown like that doesn't tell us much. If we process all of our evidence as thoroughly as we can, it seems like we might have a test or two to run.
Vabbè, ma è la stessa unghia, che cacchio vuoi? Ah, però è vero, dobbiamo anche, se non sappiamo di chi è quest'unghia, comunque c'ha ragione anche lui. Allora, DNA. Allora, prima vediamo. Allora, vediamo se è questo. Ci sono vari. Allora, vediamo un po'. Se siamo fortunati, forse abbiamo beccato quello giusto. No, ah sì, forse sì. Allora, intanto mettiamolo qua. No. Ah no, non è questo. È questo che devo prendere, vaffan bagno, ok. No. Non è questo qua il campione da analizzare, forse il secondo. Ho sbagliato, schiacciato. Allora, verde, rosso. No. Non può essere questo. Ah no, forse sì, vediamo. No, non è neanche questo campione. Perché facciamo così. Dobbiamo trovare quello giusto, ragazzi, ci deve andare a fortuna, cioè ce ne sono un po', bisogna analizzarli tutti. Allora. Non è neanche questo, porco Giuda, quelle cacchio, aspetta. No. E allora sarà l'ultimo, proviamo l'ultimo. Forse ci siamo, Eccolo qua, l'abbiamo trovato. A chi appartiene sto DNA confermato, vediamo. Ah! L'infermiera ha un precedente adescamento.
Okay, so not only is Nurse Lou a stripper with a rap sheet, she lied to us about the fake fingernail.
Poi questo col campione di materiale genetico femminile, sicuramente il suo. Mi sa intanto che quell'intimo da donna sia suo. Adesso abbiamo anche il DNA dell'infermiera, quindi ci è andata anche bene. No, ho sbagliato questo. Poi ok, questo qui. Dunque questo va per forza qua. Il doppio blu va qui. Ok. Sì, ragazzi, è suo. È suo.
Well, hello. It's always the naughty nurse, right? Not only does Pauline Lou have to work hard because she's been a dancer at various gentlemen's clubs around town, but she also has an arrest for solicitation on her record. Looks like John and Nurse Lou didn't want us to know about their little relationship. Do you want to tell Brass or should I?
Ok, quindi l'infermiera e John hanno avuto un rapporto un po' sexy, diciamo. Allora adesso, visto che possiamo controllare anche la prova dell'unghia, visto che prima mi hai rotto le scatole dicendo di non controllare sconosciuto con sconosciuto. Adesso vediamo se mi rompi le palle. Beh,
So that piece of cosmetic fingernail that we found in the skin of Mary's hand belongs to her nurse. She lied to us. I wish I could say I was surprised.
ok. Adesso controlliamo il DNA, quell'altro. Questo qua, il campione di sperma, ma posso immaginare di chi sia. Ancora, mamma mia, anche qui 4 di questi da controllare. Speriamo di averlo azzeccato al primo colpo qua. Allora, qui c'è già qualcosa che non va. Rosso rosso, verde, rosso rosso, già non è lui. Mi sa, io provo a vedere per sicurezza. Ma mi sa... No, infatti. Proviamo il secondo. Poi c'è verde, giallo, giallo, no. Ma vaffancacchiarola. Ah, forse... No, sbagliata così. No, non è il suo questo. Perché ma tutti quei rossi vicini non... Vediamo il terzo. No, che cacchio ho fatto? Ah no, ho sbagliato, qua va messo. Neanche questo è il suo. Proviamo l'ultimo. Questo va per forza qui. Eccolo, forse ci siamo ragazzi. Era l'ultimo anche questo. Eccolo qua, richiesto DNA, ma penso che potrebbe... Sono sicuro che sia di John, però... Allora, ubriachezza molesta, guida in stato di ebbrezza. Però...
Looks like John and Nurse Lou didn't want us to know about their little relationship. Do you want to tell Brass or should I?
Ok, abbiamo due bei mandati. Allora, abbiamo esaminato tutte le prove. Perché questo me lo dà così? Ah, forse dobbiamo fare anche questo. Aspettate, vediamo se è dello stesso materiale, secondo me. Sì.
They're a perfect match.
Ok. Ecco qua, vedete? È uscita la D, vuol dire che le abbiamo analizzate. Perfetto. Allora, no, ho sbagliato, dobbiamo vedere se ci sono altre prove da analizzare. Ah, è vero, scarpe. Dobbiamo analizzare le scarpe. Vediamo.
The tread of this shoe is the same size and pattern as the shoe impression we collected from the crime scene. I gotta say, it doesn't look so good for John.
No. E anche
The
questa.
tread of this shoe is the same size and pattern as the shoe impression we collected from the crime scene. I gotta say, it doesn't look so good for John.
Sì, anche questo, tutto corrisponde. Quindi le scarpe che abbiamo trovato nell'armadio sono ha le stesse impronte di quelle trovate nella scena del crimine. Infatti adesso sono segnate con la B, vuol dire che l'abbiamo analizzato. Allora, niente, dobbiamo andare da Brass adesso per chiedere un bel po' di mandati. Ci serve un mandato. Questo.
Pauline, Lou, and John Barrett were lovers. Great. So I'd call that motive, wouldn't you? So let me get this straight. John Barrett stands to inherit a fortune. His girlfriend, the nurse, provides him with an alibi, and lucky for her, vice versa. And on top of that, her intimate knowledge of the regulator unit gives the kid a great big opportunity for murder.
Looks like John Barrett doesn't seem too interested in providing an alibi for anyone, including Pauline.
Okay, let's not tip our hand here. If we try and talk to John Barrett first, his lawyers might circle him, and the nurse. Or if we call the nurse in here first, then maybe she'll be willing to make a deal and give up her boyfriend.
Andiamo ancora con la nostra bella infermiera.
I'm very confused by this situation. I've tried to be very cooperative. Have I done something wrong?
Ci parli della sua unghia finta?
Well, like I told you before, I chipped a nail and replaced it with this one I have on. And I've had it on all week. Why are you asking?
Stai mentendo, non mi prendi per il sedere.
Pauline, we found your DNA on a cosmetic fingernail.
Oh, that's right. You know what? When I first broke my nail, I put on a different replacement. But I didn't apply it right, so then I put this one on. In fact, I didn't even put this one on. The woman who does my nails did. But I don't see why any of this matters, because that was all like a week ago.
No, bella, non è successo una settimana fa.
Why are you asking me that? I'm a registered nurse, and Mr. Barrett hired me to provide hospice quality care to his sister.
Certo, ma chi è che vuoi prendere in giro?
Pauline, I'm going to ask you again. What is your relationship to John Barrett? I think you know why I'm asking. Because according to the semen and vaginal contributions we found on this underwear, you and Mr. Barrett were very intimate. At least on one occasion.
It's true. I love John. We've been together for some time now. I met John not long after his parents passed away. I probably fell in love first. I think he was more interested in being distracted. You see, before I was a nurse, I was a dancer. A stripper, actually. It's not something I'm proud of, but it's not exactly something I'm ashamed of either. I paid my way through nursing school. I'd always dreamed of being a nurse. And it brought me to John. But I never quite had enough confidence, or I don't know. Maybe I just didn't have enough experience to pass my certification tests. John was the only one who ever believed in me. He's the most sensitive, caring man I've ever known.
Pauline, you've been telling us this whole time that you're a registered nurse.
Yeah, well, for all practical purposes, I am. It's just that I don't actually have this certification yet, and I didn't want to get John into trouble for having hired me. Look, I swear to God, that's the only reason I tried to hide our relationship from you. All my life, all I've ever wanted to do is be a nurse and help people. I couldn't bear the thought of being barred from the profession for good because of this.
As Mary's nurse, you definitely had what we like to refer to as opportunity. You follow me? Okay, now since you and John had a little thing going on, he stood to inherit the family fortune if and when Mary died, well, that gives both of you motive. What really complicates things is that you've told us two different stories.
I'll tell you what, Miss Lou. We're all reasonable people. We know you and John are in this thing together. That's why we're prepared to offer you a deal. Testify against Mr. Barrett, and we'll make sure that you do the bare minimum jail time. What do you say?
No, please, I'm innocent. You've got to talk to John. He'll tell you. We were together all night. I swear to you.
You lied to us, Pauline. Now it's kind of hard just to take you at your word. And since John's not talking, we're really going to need your help to find something to back up your story.
If John knows what's going to happen to me, he'll talk to you. I know he will. He's a very complicated man. Before our accident, Mary gave John a gift. It's a goofy little thing. This little finger puppet. It was like this private joke between the two of them. But then when Mary got hurt, the stupid puppet began to mean the world to John. He would hold it at her bedside and try to make her laugh with it. But last week, the puppet got lost somehow. I'd been cleaning up and I must have misplaced it, but John went ballistic. I mean, you'd have thought I'd run over his dog. Anyway, day before yesterday, I found the damn puppet. I was thrilled. I went down to the lake, down by where they keep the boat. And I was going to surprise John with it, but before I could say anything, he started screaming at me. And that's when I threw that stupid puppet away, for good. Not exactly for good. I tried throwing the damn thing in the lake, but instead I ended up tossing it into the family's boat. Okay, this is the crazy part, and the whole reason I'm telling you this. I think if John gets that puppet back, then he might be able to open up to you guys. He's missing Mary so much. He just needs to have a piece of her back, and then he'll open up and tell you everything you need to know. I'm sure of it.
That's all for now. Thank you.
Va bene ragazzi, andiamo. Vediamo se dice la verità l'infermiera. Andiamo al molo e vediamo se troviamo sto pupazzo. Eccolo qua.
Okay, here's that little puppet Paul was talking about. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's just really hard to believe this would mean so much to Mary's brother.
Ci è arrivata dalla posta, sarà la rompiballe di quella, ma a me non mi interessa. Allora, vediamo un attimo se c'è qualcosa da prendere. No. Ok, mo andiamo. Nel luogo dove è avvenuto l'omicidio. Io comunque non so perché non riesco a trovare vabbè. Andiamo qui. Ah, qui c'è il pianoforte, vero? Prima non avevamo... c'era la donna lì, non potevamo vederlo. Controlliamo di nuovo qua. Bello il lampadario qui. No, niente, non si può proprio fare niente qua. Ok, parliamo con John.
Oh, God. Where did you get this?
We understand it has a lot of sentimental value for you?
It does. It may seem silly to you, but it means a lot to me. Thanks. This finger puppet. This dumb, ugly little finger puppet is proof I killed my sister. She gave it to me just before the accident. And then afterwards, you know, I'd put it on her finger. She'd make me laugh. It disappeared a week ago, right after I made Mary promise me she'd keep living. For me. Because I could tell, in her eyes, she wanted to give up. She was tired. I couldn't let her go. When I thought I'd lost this puppet, it suddenly occurred to me that instead of convincing Mary to stay with me, I'd actually pushed her into leaving. I killed her. Someone else may have helped, carry it out, but it's really my fault.
John, I don't understand something. I don't mean to be insensitive, but how would you know what Mary was thinking? She couldn't speak. She could hardly move. How were you communicating with her?
We both knew Morse code. We tap into each other's palms. It's almost like how Helen Keller used to communicate.
Mary knew Morse code.
Yeah. For laughs, she'd tap out the things that bothered her on the regulator button, because she knew it would cut off after a certain point. She complained about blisters and cramps. Jane.
Jane?
Yeah. Mary told me every Sunday at some point she'd get so bored when Jane came over that she'd spell her name out with the regulator button. It's like the finger puppet. Stupid, but funny. I really miss her.
You need to get back to the lab and review those regulator records. I think we may have overlooked our best witness.
Va bene ragazzi, allora.
Look, officers, this is a really terrible time for me right now. I'm sorry for lashing out at you. I realize you're just doing your job. I lied to you about one thing. If someone did this to Mary, I want to know who. I'll help you. In any way I can. Ask me whatever questions you need.
Allora, parliamo un attimo.
I could talk about Mary all day if you wanted me to. If Pauline wasn't actually a registered nurse? Yeah, Mary knew. She didn't have a problem with it. She liked Pauline a lot. She also knew how I felt about her. I think Mary probably thought I could do better than an ex-stripper, but she was happy that I was happy. Everyone knew we were a couple, including Jane. I love Pauline, and I know she would never do anything to hurt Mary. And even if Mary had wanted Pauline to help end her life, even if Pauline had found some way to communicate with Mary about that, she would have come to me first. Whatever you think you have on Pauline, I'm telling you, you're wrong. Pauline doesn't know Morse code. How could Mary have asked her? I know you probably think I'm blinded by love or something, but Pauline couldn't have been the one who ended Mary's life. Pauline and I were home all night. We got back around 10, and then we basically crashed in our room till morning. It's not really much of an alibi, right? Nobody saw us, nobody called us, but it's the truth. I understand you have to ask me that question, but it still hurts. And the answer is still, no, I did not kill Mary.
You see, John, the problem is, absent you having an alibi we can confirm, the evidence we have right now suggests that you had both opportunity and motive in your sister's death.
What evidence?
Well, for one thing, we found a shoe impression beside your sister's bed. It was left in fresh mud. We were able to match that impression to the shoes we found in your bedroom, the ones which still had caked mud on them.
Wait a minute. Think about it. If I was really going to kill Mary, why the hell would I track mud all over the house and leave my shoe print where you guys can find it and match it right back to me?
You ever hear the expression consciousness of guilt? It means deep down, you might have subconsciously felt guilty for doing what you did.
I didn't do what you think I did. Thing is, I have another pair of shoes just like those. I keep them on the boat. Somebody else could have used them. Somebody who wanted to make it look like I did it. Now, the weird thing is, I keep those shoes in a locked cabinet. But here's the key. Go check it out.
Ok.
Jane. My sister and I don't exactly get along anymore, but between the two of us, I'm the one capable of murder, not her. Jane and I aren't very close. When we were growing up, she was cruel and distant, and she was really judgmental, and she was always the victim. But I did appreciate how she tried to be with Mary after the accident. I can't see Jane doing anything to harm Mary. At worst, she would have just stopped showing up. Jane didn't like Mary. She didn't trust her. But then after the accident, Jane tried really hard to make things right between them.
Va bene, allora ragazzi, abbiamo perquisito il luogo. Perché? Perché ci ha dato la chiave della barca, in quanto lui ha detto che ha un altro paio di scarpe uguale nella barca. Noi però adesso andiamo al laboratorio e salviamo la partita. Così poi dopo andremo alla barca, apriremo l'armadietto per vedere se ci sono le scarpe e poi controlleremo anche di nuovo i documenti riguardanti il macchinario della morfina, visto che diceva che John e Mary, mi sembra, sì, parlavano col codice Morse. Bene, questo è tutto, grazie per avermi seguito. Oggi abbiamo fatto una live leggermente più lunga perché dovevamo farla, visto che abbiamo dovuto parlare con John, e ci vediamo al prossimo video. Un saluto a tutti e alla prossima. Ciao ragazzi!